The John Lebang Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised.
Worldwide and out to the greater universe, you're listening to the John Lebang Show.
Greetings, Earthlings, and alert the media. The banger is on the microphone. Well, somebody needs to sit down with President Trump, I believe. We've gone through now 10 weeks of his presidency, and I'm not sure he understood the level of opposition that was going to arise and how it would be relentless, and it just wouldn't stop, and it's going to continue and get bigger and bigger. Not because there are more people in opposition to Donald Trump, but because he is threatening an agenda that has been slowly cultivated, and now it's very close to being finished, and Donald Trump is threatening that order. And the attacks and the stupid questions that the mainstream manufactured news gives him, and the relative lack of actual sanity when it comes to what Donald Trump is doing versus what his opposition thinks he's doing. They've really lost their sense of, I don't know if it's their hatred that has cultivated this, but they've lost their sense of what is really happening. Donald Trump hasn't done a whole lot as president, at least not a whole lot in regards to destroying the massive foundation that the New World Order has slowly put into place here in the United States. We haven't gotten the border wall. It's only been 10 weeks. I'm not sure how many people that voted for Donald Trump thought it would happen in 10 weeks. Anybody who thought that Donald Trump was going to just magically come in and change the whole country by himself without any help from the people who voted for him, they're delusional in their own mind, because Donald Trump is one man and he was sent there to get some things done. Or really, I think it wasn't that the American people wanted him to get things done. More, it was they wanted the transformation of America stopped. Stop it in its tracks. It had gone too far. The transformation was way too dramatic. The country no longer resembles the country we had 10 years ago or 15 years ago or even 20 years ago. And although change is inevitable with people, with cultures, whatever, the rapid transformation took on a very damaging position, if that's the way to put it. It really, change needs to come in a gradual manner for more people to accept things, and so that you don't have opposition. But the change, the transformation of the country was done purposely rapid so it could cause strife inside the country. And now we see the whole country is divided between this group and this group, this political party, this mindset and that mindset. Nobody wants to work with each other. Nobody wants to find common ground. It's either their way or the highway. And that's because of the rapid transformation of this country. People who were longing for massive change in one direction, well, they got it. And the people who were pretty happy with the established way of doing things weren't exactly happy about it. There was no transition there. It was just a quick, 8 years is nothing when you think about a country that's been around 200 plus years. 8 years is nothing. So when you have massive transformation in that short a time period, it's like slapping people in the face. And some people don't like it. And it's also, and this is the bigger issue, is it's also disregarding people who don't even want to go in that way. There wasn't a search for common ground by the president, Barack Obama. The country kept transforming under his rule. And the American people who did not like the transformation elected Donald Trump. On top of the fact that Hillary Clinton could have been the worst candidate in the history of the Democrat Party. And that's saying a lot. And most likely she was the worst presidential candidate ever. But this transformation that took place has now split the country beyond half. We're segmented into these little groups, fragmented. This piece over here and this piece over here, and nobody wants to work together. They're only concerned with what they want and whether it affects other groups or other people. It doesn't matter. And that's really not the American way. And that's a bigger issue right there. We're not doing things the American way anymore. We're worried about specific groups, and we're catering our country's direction to fit those groups instead of what is best for the individual. There was a day when individual sovereignty was championed here in this country. But we've been infected by other belief systems that promote more of a group mentality thinking, whether it be forms of socialism or straight up communism. And we've foregone worrying or protecting the individual. Obamacare was a perfect example of that. They looked for certain groups and they didn't care if they harmed the individual who didn't want to either purchase insurance or whatever. They forced that person into doing it. See, I have no problem, and a lot of people do not have a problem if you want certain things to happen in the country, as long as it doesn't affect them. You can do whatever you want. You want some kind of socialist program? Let's pretend it's a health care program. As long as it doesn't affect a person who doesn't want to be involved with it, you can have that program. The problem is, these programs wouldn't exist without some form of force, some form of coercion. You can't have socialist programs without people who don't want to be part of it paying into it. Because money has to come from everywhere to cover these things. And so now the people who voted for Donald Trump are wondering, come on, Donald, let's hurry up here. It's going to take a long time to change things beyond Donald Trump. The people who are in a rush to get things back to the way they were, to make America great again, as Donald Trump projects it, and the people who voted for him see it, it will not be done in Donald Trump's reign. His 4 years here, because I don't think he's going 8. I think he's figured out pretty clearly that 4 years is going to be enough of this constant barrage of people hating on him. It gets pretty old pretty quick, especially when most of the hate is unfounded or based on things they have no idea about. It's some irrational hatred that they created in their mind, or someone mind controlled and brainwashed them into thinking that way. Could be jealousy as well. There's a lot of people that are mad as heck that Donald Trump made it and not their person. And you see them attacking people all over social media. Anyone at least attacking, they're attacking the people who voted in favor of Trump or opposing Hillary. You get attacks all day on those people. They think the attacks are working. And in some circumstances they are. One, because people won't shut off their television and turn off that mainstream manufactured news. Because they're the ones that are at war with the president more than any other. He went after him in the election. He told some truths about the mainstream manufactured news, and they don't like it. So now that he won, which they got wrong, they thought Hillary was going to win. All their polls were showing Hillary was going to win. It wasn't that they were actually doing polls that were non-biased. They made sure the polls looked the way they did because they wanted to sway the public opinion in Hillary's favor. Hillary had the entire media, practically the mainstream manufactured media, on her side. Hollywood, everything that you're watching on TV, practically all that was on Hillary's side, yet she was such a bad candidate that she couldn't beat Donald Trump, who spent, $5 a vote, compared to her, who was spending thousands of dollars to get her votes. Nobody wanted Hillary's agenda. People were sick of the Obama agenda. They didn't want to go where the transformation was taking us. That hope and change was not exactly what people were looking for. That's because we believe politicians on top of that. But I understand where Donald Trump is at right now, because recently I've been under attack because what? Oh, I'm just trying to do the job I want to do. This is what I'm doing, and I'm doing it well, and people don't like it. Well, Donald Trump is doing a job, and he's doing it okay. I would give him in his first 10 weeks about a B. About a B. Nowhere is it near an A, and it's not a failing grade like the polls are trying to suggest. 1/3 of people hate Donald Trump or whatever I read in a poll recently. I'm like, yeah, but if you're sampling Democrats, they're going to hate him because he's trying to stop that agenda that was being wrought upon the country. The transformation that the people who voted for Trump wanted stopped. That transformation is making some people who want it to continue very upset. So the attacks are going to continue and continue and continue. And it gets old. I know that the people who voted for him are getting sick of the attacks and they're starting to believe him. Trump failed on the Obamacare. That's all I can see he really failed at in his first 10 weeks. And that's because he trusted Paul Ryan. He should trust Rand Paul more than Paul Ryan when it comes to something like health care in the country and freedom. Rand Paul knows a little bit more than Paul Ryan when it comes to freedom. Ron Paul would be the better choice. Be nice if Donald Trump would take on Ron Paul as an advisor. You know, once a week you call up Ron Paul and say, hey, give me some advice on how to get this thing done. There's people who want the Federal Reserve eliminated, and let's take our money back. Why don't we look into that, Mr. Trump? Like I said a week ago, if you don't like the spying that happened on you, the surveillance from the NSA, if you don't like it, then stop it, because it's happening to all of us. But some of the executive orders, eliminating executive things that Obama did, that's tit for tat. People get upset about that. People were getting upset on the left side that they were going to use reconciliation to get rid of Obamacare and replace it. But that's what the Democrats did. I didn't like it because I want to hold a higher standard. Let's get a bill that we can get a supermajority in, like we're supposed to on legislation. Anyways, folks, that is the music. So we got to take a quick break. More on the flip side.
Hey, don't touch that dial. The John Lebang Show will be right back. I promise.
If you are elderly, disabled, receiving SSI or Medicaid, and you have a medical need or require assistance with daily housework, shopping, grooming, medication, you may qualify for housekeeping at no cost. Call now. VIP Home Healthcare, 248-579-3805. VIP Home Healthcare, there when you need them. That's 248-579-3805. Check out the new book from Derek Shelmerdine,
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It tells the story of rock and roll from its roots right up until the mid-70s punk.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Not just the music, but also the events that shaped the music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It includes the backgrounds to recording sessions, singles, album releases, births and deaths, epic concerts, and festivals.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Shelmerdine has made a painstaking effort to document pretty much every event that would prove significant in shaping popular music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Purchase the book at www.rockandrollunraveled.com. Follow him at Twitter at R&R Unraveled, and look him up on Facebook at Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
By author Derek Shelmerdine.
Available now.
You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
On the Radio Revolution, right here.
It's better than some good Thai stick, man.
Yes, I would like some too. And welcome back, folks. I don't know if I even got my point across in the first segment. I was trying to talk about how Donald Trump should have expected this opposition. And even though I understand, you see, this kind of came up because there's a trending article on, or subject on Facebook, where Donald Trump walked out of his executive order signing because the reporters were, again, nagging him over BS questions. More BS. Now I understand that. Trust me, I do. When you're successful, which Donald Trump is, when you're successful, there are going to be people who do not like you. And when you call people out like you did, Mr. Trump, with the media during the election, you turn them all into your enemies, and that's fine, because they weren't your friend. They weren't going to be your friend. They weren't ever going to side with you unless you were a Democrat. Which is funny that a lot of Democrats don't like Donald Trump because, honestly, if you look at him and you see what he said in the past and you put together things like, oh, he said he sides more with Democrats, or he's more likely a Democrat than a Republican. Just because he has an R next to his name, you don't like him. That's this thing that's gotten people all crazy. If Donald Trump had a D by his name, all the people who hate him right now would be loving him because he had a D by his name. Boy, I would have loved to seen that. I wish we could go into some alternate reality and see Donald Trump running as the Democrat nominee, and let's say Ted Cruz was the Republican nominee, and Trump won, and how the entire media, all the people on the left there, how they would be praising him versus hating on him right now. But we have to live in this reality. And Donald Trump has to realize, because he has an R next to his name and because he's going to do things that are not very favorable to the media, because he pretty much gave them the finger during the election, which is fine. I give them the finger myself. I don't mind calling people out either. And all I do is just do my business here. I work hard at what I do. I'm successful to the point I am. I'm not super successful, but semi-successful in what I'm doing. And people are going to get jealous of you, Mr. Trump. They're going to hate on you, and you have way more success than I ever had. So you're going to get a higher level of disdain, of trouble, of, hatred. Because more people are not going to like you because of some irrational belief that they have that you're this or that or the other thing. And I felt a bunch of times of walking out on people myself. When you sit there and you try to have a conversation with people about something, and then the name calling comes out because they can't argue their point with logic and reason. So what they do is try to discredit you. And that's what they're doing with Donald Trump. Donald Trump might not be the most elegant speaker on the planet. He might not be as trained as, let's say, President Barack Hussein Obama was. That doesn't make the guy any less intelligent than B.O. In fact, when you stack the two next to each other, now that they're both president, and you look what B.O. did in his personal life outside of the presidency, and you see what Mr. Trump did in his personal life before the presidency, you can see Donald Trump did something right. He has very successful business under his feet, or that he had to give up to his kids while he's president. And this is only going to be for 4 years. I can't see him enduring years upon years upon years, 8 years I'm talking about, 2 terms of this rhetoric coming out of not only the mainstream media, but everybody in the Democrat Party and the people that follow them. This rhetoric that's dividing the country even more. See, you heard Hillary come back. She's now back out there, and she said, keep going, everybody. Keep protesting. Keep causing trouble. Keep, whatever she said. And it's like, here she is being a Jacobin, and she's sending the mobs out to cause even more trouble. Hillary Clinton is a divider, as was President Obama. The jury's still out on Donald Trump, what he is. But he isn't trying to divide the country. He's trying to work with people, just people aren't willing to work with him. And in the repeal and replace of the Obamacare thing, he just wanted something good under his belt to go, see, we got something done. Except it was junk, Mr. Trump there. It was junk. The people want it repealed, okay? If you want to create something after the fact to help out whoever is the supposed, area that needs help at, then figure that out after, as long as there's not a mandate. In other words, as long as I'm not forced to do it, I'm not forced to be in the system, no money is taken from me at all for it, then do something. Fine. But Obamacare has cost so many people problems, and insurance premiums have gone up. Not for the people with subsidies, of course not. They get subsidies. They get money from somebody else. And this whole idea behind single payer, there's no such thing as single payer. People want it's like a mind warping thing. They talk about single payer as if the government is the one single payer. That's hogwash. The government has to get their money from somewhere, which means it's the people who are productive and make the money. They take a certain portion of it. So it can never be a single payer system ever. It's a taxpayer funded system. And since there are millions upon millions upon millions of taxpayers, it can never be a single payer system. It's a lie. It's a government system that is forced on the population. And single payer, who a lot of socialists or self-proclaimed socialists claim is the best system, that's more of a communist system, if you ask me. I get tired of the nonsense, and I can understand why Trump walked out and said, the hell with it, I'm going to sign this executive order. He's trying to be open and honest with everybody. Signing these orders in front of cameras never happened with BO. I mean, I can't remember how many executive orders were actually signed that of importance, not those politically correct ones we're talking about. I'm talking executive orders of importance. There's Trump. Signs it right in front of everybody so everybody can see it. He's not even given credit for that. Not that, and I don't even know if he expected credit. I think he did. That he expected people to give him credit for doing things more openly than other presidents. And you're not going to get it, Mr. President. I think you need different advisors. You know what? I'll be an advisor. No fee to you, Mr. Trump. Just listen to the show a little bit. I'll give you advice. So make sure these people that you have in your cabinet right now, they should be advising you to just, you're going to be constantly under attack. Just get over it. Just put some shields up so none of that bothers you. And don't do any more of these signings in the public. The hell with the mainstream media. Stop giving the mainstream media any credit. These press conferences, the hell with it. Just send your guy out there, your press secretary, and let him deal with those guys. Don't even do anything like that. The heck with it. All you're going to do is put yourself in the line of fire time and time again, because the mainstream media at this point, they're mean, they're wicked, they're deceitful. The mainstream media is not going to stop their barrages on you just because they have their problems with you, because you're successful. Look at how all these mainstream media outlets are failing, one right after the other. They're all in the red. You're a successful guy. There's going to be people who don't know how to be successful going to hate on you. Don't do any more of these. It's worthless. The press is worthless. You know what? Hold your own little thing where you bring in just certain press agencies. That'll teach them a lesson. Anyways, folks, we're up against a break here. More on the flip side. We're going to talk about stupid scientists and some of the things they're now up to. Right after this.
Don't go anywhere. The John Lebang Show will be right back.
You'd be crazy to change the dial now.
CRRM, CarePoint Building Services. Their billers and managers are all dedicated to working for you to increase your profits. For more information, call CRRM at 248-579-3805. CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services. And allow me to do a little bit of self-promotion. If you like what's going on here on the John Lebang Show and you would love to know more, then feel free to go to our website. That's www.jlebang.com. We have archives of the show, music, podcast, all kinds of things for your entertainment. Now, if you want to contact the John Lebang Show, there's one quick and easy way. That's sending us an email at jlebang@live.com. We take pictures of your girlfriend. Hey, send us puppy pictures, hate mail, whatever feels right to you. Now, if you like videos, then go to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/LebangYourHead. Now, follow us on Twitter at John Lebang and look us up at Facebook. That Mark Zuckerberg cash cow. Facebook.com/The John Lebang Show. This half hour is brought to you by Pane in the Glass Window Cleaning. For a beautiful, sparkling shine that's crystal clear, call Pane in the Glass. You can find them on Facebook at Pane and the Glass.
Hey, man, it's at the bottom of the hour, man. Do you know where your kids are, man?
Forces of darkness, the treasonable minds who collaborate, must, can, and will be wiped from the face of the earth.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have scientists over at Northwestern University doing some incredible work. Yes, they are. They're using human cells to recreate a female reproductive system inside of a little box. This little box thing. And they're switching it on in their little lab base there. This little creation they have. That these researchers claim that this book-sized, get this, biobot, dubbed Eve Atar, had completed its first menstrual cycle. Eve Atar. I guess they're naming it after the first woman, Eve? Those silly scientists. I thought they didn't believe in creation. Specialists that worked on each part of this reproductive system, they're dubbing Evatar.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby.
With one of them actually working on an ovary and other parts like the cervix. It's hoped that these fake organ systems could be linked up to create a human in a dish. Don't you love scientists? They're always trying to do things their own way. Except I don't actually call this science. This is more like, engineering. But, who cares about deeming the proper terms as of this point? This Frankenstein creation will allow what they're saying pharmaceutical companies to test new drugs on these half-human, that's their words, to see if they cause any nasty reactions. So I guess they're getting away from humans experiments and they're getting away from animal experiments, and now they're going to make biobots, half-humans, and do their little experiments that way. In the case of this Evatar, these scientists will be able to see the difference in reactions between men and women. That's what they're saying.
Oh, dear.
So I guess they're going to have a penis bot too, maybe down the road. That way, if you lose your schmeckle, you can either have the addictomy surgery or you can go for the penis bot.
Boys have a penis, girls have a vagina.
And apparently these biobots, the Avatar that they're currently working on, is made of living cells which can wriggle and walk. Scientists have a lot of time on their hands, don't they? A lot of time on their hands. A lot of money goes to these people to create these little biobots and other random experiments and studies. And they're expecting a fleet of walking biobots will be powered by muscle cells and controlled by electronic and optical impulses. And these biobots are going to be able to menstruate. So they're going to just, try to replace the women? I'm not sure. There was talk about the robots in the future being our sex partners and people being married to them. This is all Section 8 stuff, and I'm not talking Section 8 housing. Old military term, Section 8, you're a little loony, nuts, crazy. They did away with that term, apparently. Although maybe they just transferred it to Section 8 housing. I don't know. We have other scientists doing other studies as well. I shouldn't just dwell on the biobots and the robot future that we're about to come into. The incredible thing where they're probably going to put, not probably, most likely going to put most of us out of work. And there's not going to be much for the average human, the common man, to do. They're going to take over most of the industries here in the next 20 or 30 years. That's not me telling you that. That's what the creators and the people, these futurists, are telling us. That's what's going to happen. They're going to take over the, fast food industry, probably involve more into the car industry, especially now that we're going to have self-driving cars. Who needs a taxi driver? I don't know what the taxi driver is going to do now. He's not going to have a job. The entry-level McDonald's people there who want $15 an hour aren't going to get $0 an hour now. They're just going to be left out in the cold. I don't know how they're going to have jobs. Not much else you can do. They're talking that we're going to have these robot doctors and robot this and robot that. There's going to be nothing. Humans aren't going to have to do anything anymore. You're not even going to need human beings pretty soon. But that's the good news. So apparently. We have other news suggesting a new study is questioning whether dark energy even exists. Citing a computer simulation that found that by accounting for the change in structure of the cosmos, the gap in the theory of the cosmos, which dark energy was proposed to fill, vanishes. So basically they've got a new study that's saying that 68% of the universe doesn't actually exist. Now, maybe we created 68% more of the universe than actually existed. Maybe our scientists that are making these hypotheses and these theories about what's beyond what we can see and what's out there in the darkness, maybe we've created more than there actually is. But to say that 68% of the universe may not actually exist is a little backwards. Because whatever the universe is, it exists in 100%. We may have overestimated the size of the universe, if we even knew the size of the universe or what the universe was. This current simulation is based around dark energy. That was a theory in itself. They were guessing at that. Scientists like to guess, and scientists like to create. They don't do much science anymore, but they do some guessing. They do a simulation and go, oh, well, everything we thought might not actually be the way we thought it was. And now it's got to go out to peer review because they like their peer review. And everybody's going to read their data and come up with their own theories and guesses. But it's to a point where we're like... But it's to the point where we're paying for all these research studies, whether they're privately funded or government funded, and a lot of these are government funded. And they're turning up information that really, what does it matter? Again, if we overguessed what size the universe was, we can't measure it in any modern way. We do not have the technology to actually measure the entire universe. We barely can reach outside of our own solar system. We don't know what the consistency of most of the planets are. We're guessing at them because we've never been on those planets. Maybe we have reasonable ideas, but still we haven't been there, or we've barely been there, floating around in some kind of orbit around a planet isn't actually being on the planet and seeing how things work down there. You can make some guesses, but you don't know until you've been there. And in those regards, we barely know what's going on the moon or on Mars. We're making all guesses on wherever the Mars rover cruises around or wherever the few supposed moon landings were. That's all we know about these things, and we make big, giant leaps of faith. It's funny how scientists are supposed to be based in fact, and they make giant leaps of faith, or they make these giant theories, these hypotheses, that it's all based on guessing. It's just guesswork. It's hopeful thinking. I'm not trying to discredit them. They're discrediting themselves. And for anybody to believe anything anymore, especially now in this internet age, without researching, checking against it and going, I don't know. We get a study up and it says, 68% of the universe may not exist. And we see that article headline there and we're like, oh, what? What? Well, maybe they overguesstimated the size of the universe. We don't know, and we're never going to know in our lifetime. How many generations do you think it's going to take before they've charted the entire universe? If it's even possible. It's like it's one of those questions like, how big is the universe? It doesn't matter. Who cares? We're trying to worry about that. We've got plenty of things to worry about down here, and we're worried about the size of the universe. We haven't gotten things figured out here. I think maybe we need to focus a little more. I know everybody's in this rush to jump to space, and it's really a cool idea because I like it too. All the Star Trek stuff, and it's a cool idea. But we can't figure out the crap that goes on down here right now. We hate each other for all the stupid reasons. So what are we going to do? Go into space and start? If we come up against some other alien race, we're going to hate on them because they're different too? Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we're doing things in the right order, and we shouldn't be trusting a majority of these scientists, in my opinion. Because they're not doing science. Guessing is not science. Creating something is not science. Science is the study of nature. How natural things happen. And some of the things that have happened, like the creation of the universe, we'll never know. We can make guesses at it. We don't know what sparked the universe. Had to come from something, though. Didn't it? Because it couldn't have came from nothing. That doesn't make sense. If there was nothing, then how can something come from nothing? But we're going to get people to argue about that. And it happened this way or it happened that way. When it doesn't matter. Just find another reason to hate each other. Divide each other on. Scientists have got some things right, and they've got a lot of things wrong. History shows that. At one time, scientists thought the Earth was flat. Then they figured out it was round. Now some people are saying it's flat again. To believe mankind in anything without doing your own research is not basing your life in a good way. You're not focusing correctly. People tell you things. People told you, people you trusted told you there was a Santa Claus. How'd that work out? The Easter Bunny. Until you did some of your own study and you figured out, wait a minute, those things don't really exist. Until you did that research and you figured it out. You believed it, didn't you? We should do that in everything. And these scientists that are telling us this might be or that might be, that's guessing. That's guessing. And the ones that are creating robots that have menstrual cycles, that's engineering. And that's weird. That's nuts. That's crazy. Maybe when everybody's out of a job and we're going to McDonald's, or we can't even go to McDonald's because they've got robots and we can't afford to go to McDonald's because we don't have a job. We'll figure that one out. Anyways, folks, we're up against another break.
Don't touch that dial. The John Lebang Show will be right back.
You can bet on it, man.
Powerful, epic music by Toothbox Row. Life-changing lyrics come in every style, empowering humanity to finally unlock the chains of bondage. Experience the edgy side of positive music and rock your world today. From Primal to Divine, available now at sassyalternativemusic.com.
And I'd like to welcome our new sponsor, Pane in the Glass, commercial and residential window cleaning. For a beautiful, sparkling shine that's crystal clear, call Pane in the Glass Window Cleaning. You can find them on Facebook at Pane in the Glass.
If you want to contact the John Lebang Show, feel free to send an email to jlebang@live.com. And if you're on Twitter, look him up at John Lebang. And don't forget to go to his Facebook page at The John Lebang Show. Banger. Now here's John.
It's like the Trump thing. And I don't mean to be harping on Trump again, but on one hand, they're telling us that there's a Russian connection. And then there's evidence of that. And on the other hand, they're telling us, oh no, nobody's spying on Trump. Well, how would you know there was evidence with Trump or any of his people if there weren't spying on him? So you can't have it both ways. And that's why I keep telling you, you can't believe anybody in anything. You got to do your own research. Either they are spying on Trump, and that's how they have some kind of connection to Russia with Trump or his associates. They're spying on somebody with them, or they're not. And they never were. And if that's the case, how would they have any evidence to suggest that there might be a connection, there is a connection, or there isn't a connection? We don't think this through a lot of times as the person absorbing the information. But they don't make sense. You can't play both sides of the field there and expect it all to be equal. Either they're spying and they know something, or they're not spying and they don't know anything. And they're just making it up. But as we know, they've been spying the whole time. Not on just Trump, but they intercept all our data. It's been out in the open for a long time now. WikiLeaks helped to expose that, and didn't Snowden help expose that? So it's no new revelation. But people still want to believe certain things. And that's why people believe the universe is a certain way, and other people believe the earth is either flat or round, and they believe the beginning of the universe is that or this, we evolved or we didn't evolve. And instead of just believing what we want, or at least researching it to a point where we get a decent understanding of it, we lock ourselves rigidly in our position, and then we fight with a person who believes the opposite. Or we find reasons to fight with them. And we end up causing friendships to end, or maybe business partnerships to end over stupid things that we can just keep to ourselves. Or if you want to express your opinion, you could do a radio show like I do, or a YouTube channel. There are many forums where you can express your thing to, and if people want to listen, they will, and if people don't, they won't. But a lot of people who don't have the courage to get behind the microphone, they're a little more brave when it comes to typing out a bunch of things. They'll start trouble on your stuff. Be no problem. They're okay that way. I don't know how I even got onto this. Let's see what else is in the news this evening. AC/DC's promoters were fined over Axl Rose fronting their show. Yeah, finally somebody's telling AC/DC, hey, you were supposed to refund some tickets, and they didn't, for people who did not want to see Axl Rose as the singer of AC/DC. And so they were offered a chance to refund tickets, but they actually didn't do it. And now they're getting fined. The promoter is, anyways, getting fined over that. And good for them. A lot of people liked Axl Rose singing for AC/DC, and it looks very possible that there may be an album shortly after the end of the Guns N' Roses tour. They're going to start working on it. But yeah, good for them that they're going after AC/DC for promoting it as AC/DC and really not having all the pieces there to be actually AC/DC anymore. And many people didn't like the fact that Axl Rose, I mean, a lot of people turned, even Phil Rudd, the former drummer of AC/DC, turned his attitude around on Axl, because Axl did a good job of Axl Rose singing AC/DC. There's no question there, except it shouldn't have been billed as AC/DC. And if they're not going to have Brian Johnson in the band, and if they're not going to have Cliff Williams in the band, if they're not going to have Phil Rudd in the band anymore, and it's going to be this lineup that they're, this mishmash of Chris Slade and Stevie Young and whoever a new bass player might be, and Axl Rose with Angus, they just shouldn't call it AC/DC anymore. It's not AC/DC, and it's not going to be AC/DC. Sure, they can play AC/DC songs. They can play Guns N' Roses songs too and probably sound pretty good. There you go. Angus Roses. Roses Angus. I don't know. I always thought Angus DC was a cool name for that band. That way they don't have to, they can do albums then, and it would be really cool to hear more Angus stuff. He's a great guitar player. I love his music. And cool. Him jamming with Axl Rose isn't the worst thing that could happen, as long as it's not under the banner of AC/DC. None of the other members are original members, and yes, they've changed members over the years. I understand that. But the core of that band was together for a good portion of their career. And at this point, when they're closer to the end than the middle or the beginning, you've got to look at it and go, this isn't AC/DC. This is a close proximity. We can play the songs. We might even play better with this group of new guys. I don't know. Some people think so. But it's not AC/DC, and it'd be nice to see them if they're going to record an album, if they're going to release and tour, then just change it. Angus DC, Angus and Rose, something. People wouldn't be opposed to that. I'm telling you, you'll still sell tickets. Angus and Rose? Come on, that sounds great. A lot of people would go to that. You could play AC/DC stuff, you can play Guns N' Roses stuff, play your own original stuff. Boom, and it's cool. It wouldn't be the first time that somebody had did something like that. And it would be a lot better. It wouldn't tarnish the AC/DC reputation. It wouldn't tarnish anything. And it'd be a nice new chapter for all the fans of AC/DC and Guns N' Roses. And if Axl still wants to be in Guns N' Roses, he can. Angus, if you want to do a solo guitar album, I always thought that would be a cool idea, an all-instrumental Angus album. I would be hoping that Malcolm be there, but, dementia doesn't work so well when you're trying to play guitar. And it's very sad about Malcolm. That was the catalyst for this crumbling of the band, I feel. And where we are, the current state of AC/DC. They're no longer the legendary band AC/DC. They're a glued together, they're just trying to stick pieces in there. Oh, this guy can fit there. We're just going to stick him there. And all right, it sounds close. That's my rant on AC/DC. See, George Takei is about ready to make an announcement that he's going to maybe run for a Senate seat. That's interesting. Mr. Sulu running a Senate seat. I don't know how I feel about that. He's not going to get my vote either way because I'm not in that state. Although if he was running for a seat in my state, I probably would not vote for him. That's for sure. There's, from what I can tell of his politics, he's more leaning over the California side of things than the Texas side of things. We'll just say that. And because of that fact, I don't know if it's going to be good. I mean, I don't know how old he is, but he's got to be in his 70s. I mean, how long can you run for a position, and what good does that do? Is this more of a publicity stunt? Trump did it. Let's everybody else do it, right? Maybe Jesse Ventura will come out of retirement or come out of hiding, and maybe he'll run for an office, and Arnold will run again, and we'll have everybody. Maybe we get Sylvester Stallone to run, and then we can get Chuck Norris, and maybe Matthew Broderick. We can get all them to run. We can't forget. Let's get Christina Applegate. Maybe we'll get her to run. She's still hot. We need a couple hot chicks up in Congress there or the Senate. Who else could we get to run? Since actors want to take over, these actors want to take over politics. I mean, politics is kind of like acting, so I can see the similarities, right? And so maybe we can just get everybody who's slipping away. In Brent Spiner, he'd be great. Have Lieutenant Commander Data as a we're talking robots, right? Have him go up to Congress. That'd be a great idea. We get William Shatner. There's a whole bunch of people we should just send up to Congress and see what happens, right? And at least they're better actors than the current ones there, and they're better looking, most of them. Because politicians for the most part are like ugly actors, right? They couldn't make it in Hollywood, so they go to Washington D.C. Well, now that Hollywood is trying to make its way into D.C., we're going to have at least better looking politicians. That's not a terrible thing. We can probably thank Trump and his wife for that. Again, Trump's helping out Hollywood, and they still don't like him.
Hey, John, you ready for me yet?
Well, actually, Shady, we're about done this hour.
Yeah. Sorry, I was late. I was caught short.
We'll get it next hour.
All right, John. Bye.
And that's it, ladies and gentlemen, for this hour of the John Lebang Show. I want to thank all of our affiliate stations. Don't forget to go to our website. That's www.jlebang.com. Thank you all for listening. And until the vibrations of my vocal cords reach your ears again, and some of you that'll be in the next hour, this is John Lebang, signing off from the Banger Studios.
3, 2, 1. We have liftoff.